So, worked on the pocket bikes a little bit today. I have this pocket bike here. It looks like it should go good, but the crankshaft bearings are fucked. Motor probably don't have 5 hours on it, and the crankshaft bearings are already fucked. So, away she goes. And it's got no baffle on the exhaust, and the plastic is just horrible and cracked. So, I saw on Craigslist, this guy wanted it $50 for this this PB here. It's got a good, real good motor, good exhaust, and good plastic. And it's also got real good frame, real good brakes, wheels. They're back in the car, and chain, brake calipers, a lot of good stuff. Really, just it needs like something like axles and a throttle and a couple of things. And I'm gonna pull this motor, pull both motors, and then see if I can get that motor running, which I shouldn't be too hard at all because the compression feels real good. And then if I do get that motor running, I'm going to put that motor with that exhaust on that frame, and then take that plastic and put it onto that frame. So I'll have one real good bike and one just scrap metal pretty much. So first step, I'm going to tip this one up. It's only got, what, 2 motor mounts left, and I'm going to undo that under the exhaust and pull that motor out. I got the motor out the frame as well as the pipe. There's that frame there, and I got both the plastics off. There's the other frame. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to use that plastic on that frame unless I switch the gas tanks over. I'm not so sure I'm going to want to do that. I think I might use that plastic for now, and then paint that one up real good so it looks real nice, and then use it. But I like having that big tank. It's nice for long trips. Not sure if you're gonna be able to tell, but this motor, it looks good. That piston in there don't have much scoring onto it at all. Yeah, let's turn the motor over. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but see the piston down there. Looks real good. There was a spot where it was somewhat scored. Let me turn it over. Yeah. There's a little tiny bit of scoring on there, but it's really not bad at all, which is sweet. It's also got a crack in the case right there, but it should be fine still, I think, because it's not actually in the crankcase itself. Okay, next step is going to be to I'm going to pull that slide. Actually, no, it's a stupid idea, fuck that. I'm just going to pull that motor out altogether and take that carbon air filter off that bike, put it on this motor, put that motor in that frame, as with that pipe, and see if she'll run, and hopefully this won't be a big ass waste of time. I got both motors on the table here. I had to pull the pull start off. This is the old motor with the bad crankshaft bearings. I'll show you. I had to pull the pull start off it. And it might be hard to tell, but if you stare in one spot on the case as I rotate the flywheel, just look. Might not be able to tell, but the crankshaft, the crankshaft is spinning in an eccentric manner. I'm not sure if you can tell, but the flywheel is moving closer and farther away if you stare at one point. So these bearings are fucked. I mean, it'd still run, but the flywheel rubbed against the ignition pickups, and you know those bearings can't last much longer. So I'm gonna pull the carburetor off that one and put it on this bike, this engine. This carb might still be good, but hell, I know that one's good. Also, that crack down there at the bottom, right there, I'm going to build that up with a little JB weld, just in case. I don't think that's breaching the crank case, but just to be 110% sure, I'm going to put a little JB weld in there, and then do the carburetors, and put it on the frame, and yeah, see if she'll run. Well, I got my JB weld out, and I mixed them up and welded up that hole in the case. And if you'll notice, there's a little tiny screw in there that I caked in the JB weld, and I did that on account of that's how rebar works, and also because it's like it sits on these mounts, right? And that's, of course, there is no mount there any longer. So I'm hoping that'll like make it, you know, come up more so it'll sit good in the frame. You know, learning experience. Yeah, and on account of that's how rebar works too, kind of, so it'll reinforce it good. And now I'm going to change the carburetors over. You can see this one has a crack in the intake manifold right before it gets to read block, but hell, let's put some JB Weld in there too. Yeah, let's do that. Just JB Weld it up. In case you haven't realized, JB Weld is like my favorite thing ever. But you know, that's how we run next to it. Not talking about you. Sweet. That's patched up, so I'm gonna pull that carb off, and I'm gonna pull that carb off, and switch them out, and hopefully the motor should run after that. Pulling the carbs off is pretty easy. I'm gonna have to pull the air cleaner off this motor, and then there's two. I can show you on this one. There's two little Allen bolts that hold it on to the intake manifold, and I'd swap the manifold over too, but you can damage the gaskets pretty good if you don't do it properly and you don't have new gaskets, and I don't, so I'm just going to do it the cheap and easy redneck way. Okay, just remove those two Phillips screws, pull off the air cleaner, then remove the carburetor. Alright, I got the new carburetor off that motor and the old carburetor off that motor. Here it is. It looks pretty horrible. Clearly it was running without an air cleaner for quite a while. The actual connecting rod and everything, I looked there into it through the reeds and it looked alright, so that's good. The new carb and the air cleaner on the old motor, I'm just waiting for that JB Weld to dry up, and once it's dried pretty good, I'm gonna put it on the good frame, the roller frame, and yeah, put the pipe to it, see if she'll run. I hope it does. Thomas here is fabricating, what's that, exhaust manifold?
What's that?
Exhaust gasket, exhaust manifold?
Exhaust flange.
That's sweet. And while I'm waiting the 30-60 years for the JB Weld to dry, I seen the plug is an auto light, and that's not right. It should not be an auto light. It should be either an E3.10, E3.12, or the Chinese L70XL, I don't know what the hell. But they're all the same pretty much. So I pulled the plug out of this motor, which will never run again due to the crank bearings, as I said earlier. And I'm gonna, what? What's wrong with it then if it's not crank bearings?
The crankshaft must be eccentric.
How was that not crankshaft bearings?
It doesn't have to be the bearings.
Well, it's dick, then, a crankshaft dick. So I'm gonna pull that plug out, which is a 3/4 inch. See, and that'll I'll be able to see how it's running. At the same time, I'll squirt some oil down there and put this plug into it. Easy enough to do. Hopefully it's not seized up in there. Oh my goodness. Oh, there we go. That was an ordeal.
Dear.
That started with gasoline all over me too from the fuel line. That JB Weld is sitting pretty good. It's running alright. A little rich maybe, but not too bad. Yeah, so I'm gonna put the other plug in there. No problem. Well, it's gray time now. That's not looking like much of a bike. But this is, so that's cool. I got the motor back in the frame. Exhaust pipe on. Electric still aren't hooked up yet, but the fuel is. I ended up using the small tank because it fit better in there. Got the plastic back onto it, pull start, all that stuff. And then we're going to give it a test run. It's probably going to smoke like a whore because it's got 25-to-1 in it, and I did shoot some oil down its gullet, that machine oil, so let's give it a test shoot. Gregory will film. You're standing like right here, a little bit farther back. Tell me what to do.
Oh, dude, it's my video.
Feel on. Let's start in one pull. Probably won't.